Pippa Jarvis is a dedicated professional with extensive experience in early childhood education and community development. As a key figure at TLC Children's Center and Embrace Village, she is passionate about creating nurturing environments and supporting vulnerable communities, driving positive change and empowerment.
I am so privileged to be amongst such high caliber people, and I appreciate that. I always take the approach of the grassroots and the how do we do this? If we want to change the world and we want to build the world that everybody is so passionate about, how do we do that well? So I've taken the approach that we have to first get people to love their lives, and not from a selfish point of view, but to really be grateful for the lives that they have and to feel that there's purpose in it. When we talk about equality and we want to talk about how we bring people up the way to progress, we often use this model. Many of you might be familiar with it, called Maslow's hierarchy. And it really begins, first of all, with our basic needs as a species for survival. If we don't have our physiological needs met, we can't even consider what else is important in the world. That becomes our priority. We begin only by considering what are the needs that I have to survive as an organism. And just above that is safety. So the work that we do recognizes that in reality, nothing is sustainable until you love it and until you feel safe. And loving things comes after feeling safe. And so we have to first help people not to be fighting just for survival. We talk a lot about thriving, but so many people, especially in our context here in South Africa, are really just at a survival level. There's a huge problem with food security. There is terrible safety issues, and these things need to be addressed before sustainability can even become something on their radar. And so we wanted to take this approach where we were helping build families and keep them together. So just as context, we began our work actually caring for babies who were being abandoned, babies who were being separated from their families because of dire poverty, violence, and illness, and coming in and trying to provide for them a safe zone, a healthy environment, but recognizing that there was always a loss, always a terrible tragedy in their root of their story. The process is around how do we reweave those tears in the social fabric? How do we bring together people knitting together that sense of safety and therefore providing for the very basics of what they require? We want to always think about, in order for something to be sustainable, in order for something to be perpetually good, we have to recognize that we have to then do the environmental work. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about your context. You have to have the right environment to thrive. Otherwise, thriving is always just a pipe dream. Success sometimes means getting your hands dirty first and going back to basics. And so this is the approach that we've taken at Embrace Village, which we believe is really a model for building a sustainable future for the entire vulnerable sector in the world, which will then empower and strengthen the whole world globally. But you can't go ahead of the work. You have to do the work at the beginning. And so we are very big proponents of very early childhood development. When it comes to that, it's not about education. That's about a felt sense of safety, a belief that you matter in the world and that your needs will be met so that you can actualize, so that you can find your purpose. So as we go through the slides, you'll note the colors. They are color coded, which indicate from red, the most basic needs, all the way up the color wheel to the blue, which is self-actualization. In our model, we have chosen to recognize that poverty isn't about a lack of things. Real poverty isn't about just not having enough of the things, but it is the consistent, insufficient meeting of our most basic human needs. It traps us outside of opportunity, and that's why thriving isn't an option until we deal with those. Physiologically, we are stunted, we are underdeveloped, we are not nurtured well from a health perspective, so we get ill a lot. We can't then be really powerful contributors to the workforce or to even our parenting and families and community. Psychologically, we take strain. It makes us perform at a less good level. We find that we are unable to really achieve what we were built for, what we were made for, where our gifts and talents lie, never gets unearthed because we are so mentally under pressure from just trying to survive. And then the practicalities of just trying to get to work with no income and no transport fees, trying to work a full day on an empty stomach, trying to raise children and not being able to meet all their needs, which then just detracts from your own ability to self actualize. So poverty is around that consistent, insufficient meeting of those needs. And unless we're addressing that as a community, we will never see our communities thrive. But there is a way, and we are really excited about the methodology that we've chosen, which is starting from the beginning, recognizing that food is a basic fundamental requirement. If you want anybody to have a decent conversation with you, you should fill their bellies first. And so we've built a system where we teach the skills, but we also do the work, producing large scale agricultural installations on our premises. We have 3 premises where we run our village from. We grow the very basics that families require to keep them healthy and nurtured, but then we teach a skill on how to process that food. So the mothers can then impact their own lives by producing food that their families can eat and it nourishes them. But there is always excess, which allows them to then take that food, prepare it, process it, and add value to it so that they can generate an income out of that additional supply. And it is a wonderful gift to see the mothers thriving and getting joy from being able to finally find a way through this path of hunger, and not only just having their physical health meal needs met, but actually seeing a way forward where this can translate into real economy for their families and to help to lift them up that pyramid and provide safe housing. What we've discovered through our work with vulnerable women is that before you can even talk about learning, about growing or changing people, you have to shift their energy. You have to change their focus from surviving, and you have to give them hope that there is an opportunity on the horizon that is actually meetable, that they can actually receive something better out of the life that they've grown accustomed to, which is really just drudgery and pure survival day by day. In order to do that, we have a system in place where we receive gifts from our community, donations of food in kind, of household items, of baby goods, things that you would ordinarily use, and pre-loved clothing. And then the mothers are able to come and participate in our program, earn some tokens, which are like currency in our little village, and then exchange that in a dignified way for things that will make a difference in their lives. And they have the choice to do that. It's not simply a donations handout. There is a deep, deep need in people to be seen as valuable, as precious, as somebody worthy of making those decisions for themselves and being treated not just as beneficiaries, but as collaborators in the building of community. And so this is one of the strategies that we take. What we found is that trauma it affects your felt sense of safety. Whether you are safe or not, once you've been terribly traumatized, which most of our mothers have been, you need to feel safe. You need to actually feel it in your bones, not just intellectually, because your body recognizes trauma in subtle cues. And to unlearn that and to unprocess that trauma, you have to provide people with safety. One of our programs is dedicated to mothers who would alternatively have to raise their children on the streets, provide housing. And for any family to be sustainable, for mothers to thrive in their role, for families to be able to stay together, children and mothers have to be safe. I speak largely of mothers here because in our context, fathers are largely absent. Approximately 64% of families are raised by single mothers in our country. There are few fathers on the horizon, and in our village there are even fewer because, of course, when you have 2 parents in a household, you are less vulnerable. Not entirely not vulnerable, but less vulnerable to the stresses of life. And so this program is around providing a safe home to begin with, because once you have made sure that your needs are met physically and your safety needs are now under control, then you can really start building community. Sustainable communities are not a one-man show. That would be an oxymoron, right? You have to have people working together, but then they have to not see each other as a threat. The moment you provide for people to feel like they are having all their needs met, their threat radar, their red flags start to lower a bit, and they're able to establish deep, meaningful relationships, which then become support. And that's the whole point of a social fabric. You can't have a fabric where all the threads are only going in one direction. You can't have a single thread. That doesn't count. You have to build it together. You have to knit and weave in and out, up and down, up through all the different permutations, so that you can strengthen that fabric. And the more loosely we are woven, the more falls through the cracks, the more vulnerable we are, the less we can hold, the less we can catch when life throws us hard things. But when we are tightly woven, when we have strong relationships and meaningful engagement with each other, that's how we build a strong community. And then we can start working for justice. It's very, very difficult to bend that arc of justice, as Martin Luther used to say, without a team. You need people pulling, you need people aiming and shaving off in that direction. Otherwise, there is no point and no progress, or very slow progress, let's put it that way. So what we have discovered, of course, is that the building blocks of all humanity starts with the lessons we learn at our mother's knee. And if we aren't taking the time to engage with the mothers and build the mothers in their capacities to parent, to raise children up, to help support their education, to ensure that their children's needs are properly met, we will always have a holy bottom of that hierarchy. We'll always have a permeable space where children feel vulnerable, they feel lost and unsupported, and they will not be good contributors to a collaborative community. So for a mother to thrive in her role, she needs to be supported as a whole person in body, mind, and in spirit. And this is best done, and I would argue actually only done, in a strong and healthy community. So we begin with the small steps. And it's always difficult for us in an NGO sector to show the impact of your work, because nobody wants to see somebody sitting on a bench knitting and think that that's a good investment in of their income or of their donation. But it really starts with that. First, the mothers have to feel like they are safe. Then they feel like they're capable. So beginning with safety starts with comfort, with connection, and with finding a place to contribute. Those are the fundamentals of community as we see it, where they can come for comfort when they're feeling triggered, when they're feeling upset and emotionally overwrought. They find connection in the community that we work in, and then they are also able to contribute to the work and the global good in our small context here. Because they share common stories and they share common traumas, gender-based violence, poverty, dislocation, and a lot of our people are migrants of foreign origin. These things can knit people together, or they can really make people more vulnerable. So we choose storytelling and story sharing as part of our strategy to try and build connection, build relationships, help people see each other for who they are, and find common ground. Once you find common ground, you can usually resolve all conflict. And there will be conflict in every community. But let's start with recognizing that we're all on the same journey, that we're all working toward the same goal, and we can begin on a solid footing to make progress and to find a way for peace. I always think that, the Sustainable Development Goals are prioritized in terms of working towards peace and global sustainability on the whole, but it has to start with the individual and with relationships. And that is really the work that we really recommend. If we're going to do this work, we need to start with the heart work. We always say heart work is hard work, and it's true. You have to begin with people are. So this young lady is absolutely phobic about the world. She has been traumatized so badly, and we are building her step by step by step, stepping her into a place where, even though it's outside of her comfort zone, she's supported sufficiently to take what she regards as a big risk, introducing her to the digital world, introducing her back into school, which she had dropped out of, helping her know that by doing that, she's investing in the future of herself and her children, and helping to change their destiny. But you have to get your hands dirty, so to speak. You have to, metaphorically speaking, go in there and actually put your hands in the dirt and help people through their trauma and help them see that they're not alone. So this is one of the stories that we like to tell, just as an example. The young lady in there we call Alma in our presentations, just to preserve her anonymity. She was 13 when she was accosted by the farm owner's son. She is a third generation farm worker, her parents were. She was raised on a mango and avocado farm in a rural area in South Africa, and accosted on the way home from school at age 13 and fell pregnant. Because she was carrying then the evidence of a crime, her family were concerned for her well-being, and they sent her to Johannesburg to take care of things. Abortion wasn't an option at that point because of her young age and the late-term pregnancy, because it only became apparent to the family much later in the pregnancy. And she couldn't find anywhere to go. There were no children's homes who would take a pregnant child, and there were no adult crisis pregnancy centers that would take a pregnant child because she was a minor. And so, because we are family run and had a bit more flexibility, we were able to embrace her into our village, and we just invested in her life. We helped her finish schooling. She learned English. She and her daughter were what we call put into our process of allo parenting, which is a community parenting strategy where you support parents who are more vulnerable, who are less skilled and less experienced, by bringing in mentors, bringing in elders, and walking that parenting journey alongside the young mother until she's able to take that responsibility for herself. And she did. Alma went through school. She did 2 diplomas in Montessori education. She's now got her driver's license, and her daughter is now 20 years old and studying psychology in a local college, for which we are very, very proud. And this is how you change destinies. This is how you build equality. This is how you build a sustainable world. We have to invest in people who, when they are lost, when they are broken, when they are hopeless, we go with our strategies, with our goals, and we say, okay, to get to that goal, what do we need to invest? And it always starts with the basics: food, security, relationship. The rest will fall into place after that. So I love to always end my presentations with this quote to say, if we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten that we belong to each other. Belonging is a powerful word. It means we get to be ourselves for a long time in relationships with others. So they get to see us even on our worst days, and they still hold us safe. And that really is a privilege. And we should be looking for ways to do more of this in our personal lives, in our professional lives, in the NGO sector. And places like this and the work that this is doing should be supported and should be celebrated, and not siloed as just one thing. It needs to be an integrated approach for us to make any difference on a global scale. So thank you for the opportunity. I hope that you enjoyed what I had to share. If you wish to connect with us, please find us with Embrace Village as the tag, or TLC Children's Centre, or of course, my name is Pippa Jarvis, and you can Google me. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.